Hey everybody! Alright, first we gotta set this timer. We're gonna play... What am I gonna do? Yeah, I know what I'm gonna do. Where's the timer at? Okay, there it is. Set, put in 1, 5. And boom. Hey everybody, I'm Super Train Station H, and happy Saturday everybody. Yeah, let's get started. We've had a pretty exciting stream already. We got a whole bunch of gift subs purchased by Sonia Lang. Thanks, Sonia. Okay, well, let me start the timer and we'll get started. Where's the... I keep losing the timer. No. Actually, no. That timer needs to be for 30 minutes. And the timer on my desk needs to be for 15. There we go. Yeah, so I figured, I enjoyed playing, hey there, Kalaka boy, how you doing? Yeah, so how'd the event at Walt Disney, Disneyland go? I almost said Walt Disneyland. It's kind of like, no, it's Walt Disney World Resort is in Florida, and you're on the West Coast, park. Alright. Yeah, so we're, oh, doggone, right, of course yeah, happy February. It's the first stream of February, but since we did not finish the 3 January 1996 magazines I planned to read last week, because it was so informative, and I actually being interested in Nintendo 64 at the time, I was not expecting to learn as much as I did about the pre-launch period of the N64. Like, I wasn't following magazine interviews and stuff, I just heard from my friends about it. I never actually asked my parents for it, though, because I'm like, okay, if the graphics... With graphics like that, it has to cost, like, an absurd amount of money, and I just didn't even consider asking my parents for it. I have a Game Boy and a Game Gear, with a good library of games for both of them, and I was very happy with them. Now, it's kind of funny how my friend who kind of made me aware of the benefits of Nintendo 64, he had, like, a preview video of it, he had the Virtual Boy. And so it's kind of like, he wasn't a Nintendo evangelist or anything. I was a Sega kid, he was a Nintendo kid. Well, I was a Sega kid, but we both had Game Boys. And a Kalakaboy in chat is saying that they saw Horace Horsecollar in a Lunar New Year parade. Oh, that sounds pretty cool. It's really nice to get some of the more obscure characters, actually get them some more visibility in terms of sort of the Disney pantheon. Because Horace Horsecollar is definitely one of those ones that fell by the wayside. I'd say even Clarabelle Cow has... Hold on. I'm hearing ads on... Alright, ads were playing on another video, but I stopped them. And y'all probably couldn't hear them, but it was very distracting to me. Yeah, so I did not realize that there is a mode when you play Game Boy Color games with the Analog Pocket, because I got the Pokemon Pinball cartridge in there, and I didn't realize you could set it up so that it would actually better emulate the screen of the Game Boy Color system, which is really cool. Yeah, so last time we got like the full bright, I guess kind of like true version of what the game would have looked like, whereas... Yeah! Okay, we're good. I've caught like 3 or 4 Meowths. What? This feels unfair. Why does it allow... Once you catch a Pokemon, it should just not give you that Pokemon again. Well, the first time I caught a Meowth was actually during my, my own, model reveal stream. My 4-year anniversary, where the Advanced Controller, sent Human H to the penalty realm. And, I didn't watch the partner direct, I'll be honest, yeah, I don't have much stake in it, especially since it was a partner direct. The game I'm most interested in that I knew about in advance would have been Final Fantasy VII Remake. I would rather spend my money on getting a bigger apartment and upgrading some of my streaming equipment, and starting my hydroponic herb garden. I'm really not, yeah, I'm not looking to expand my game library right now, especially on a system I don't even have. Though, if like the only PC, the PC is the only platform I have right now that I could play Final Fantasy VII Rebirth on, and I really would just rather play it on a console. Remake, not Rebirth. I haven't played Remake yet. I would like to play Remake on stream eventually, and when I do that, I would like to do so. I have a system in form of the PC that could play that game and probably run it fine, but I mean, I know it's. I mean, this is a pretty expensive gaming PC. But most of this performance I'm using for streaming rather than. Yeah, I really don't care so much about the computing power in terms of gameplay output, but it certainly would be capable of playing a modern AAA PC game. However, I would just rather play it on a console, whether it's PS5. But really, knowing more my style, the types of games I'm more inclined to play, it would probably be on Switch too. I know it's not going to be the best possible version of Final Fantasy VII Remake, Rebirth, and whatever the third one is. But I would get to play it on a home system, well, on a system, and it would be a Nintendo system. So eventually, I would have access to those games I'm willing to play. But like I said, it's still true now. If I never bought another system again, if I could only buy games on Nintendo Switch, if Nintendo Switch was the newest system I could ever buy games on for the rest of my life, and the eShop stayed up infinitely, I would never run out of games to play in my life. I'm not... I love video games, I love showing them, talking about them, but they're still kind of the last thing I'll do with my free time. If anyone's not unfamiliar with my stream, I don't just play games, I also will share the history of them, so we'll be reading some vintage gaming magazines later on from January 1996, and we've been reading magazines from the era of what might be called Pokemania. So, you know, we've mostly been focusing on magazines from around the time that Pokemon had first come to the Western world in September 98. Hey, nice bonus stage. You know, last time. This is such a cute bonus stage. Look at that Meowth. Don't you just want to beat the mess out of him with a ball? Okay. Make him drop all his money. Yeah, you can see the direct lineage, the direct sort of gaming DNA in these bonus games from 1989's Revenge of the Gator on the original Game Boy, to Kirby's Pinball Land, and now Pokemon Pinball. This is the last game in the Pokemon Pinball series that I believe Hal had any involvement with. And yes, this game is I don't know if that's technically the right term, but it's using the same, I guess, engine as Revenge of the Gator. It's based on the same underlying, programming code. Oh, okay, come on. Oh yeah, I keep forgetting. Oh, we're not gonna win. Almost. Not quite. And Meowth's like, I know, you tried to beat me, but you didn't. But yeah, tell me about Adventures of Elliot. I never heard of that game before. I know nothing super groundbreaking got announced from what I heard, but I didn't watch the Direct yet. But I will. I will be watching the Pokemon Day, Pokemon Presents. I forgot the day, but I cleared out my calendar. I have no appointments that day, so I will be here on that morning to, I will make sure I'm at my apartment. I won't be out of town or anything. Oh, okay. I won't be making a run, and I will be streaming that, even though I'm kind of a disillusioned Pokemon fan. I mean, the last Pokemon RPG I played, liked, and completed was Pokemon Sun and Moon. And Pokemon Sun and Moon, I still say, it was only as good as it was because Game Freak had to deal with Yokai Watch, which never caught on in America, but it was a very significant force in Japan. And the fact that they decided, okay, the new Pokemon games, we're definitely gonna need to have, doggone. we're definitely gonna need to have. Oh, and Clackaboy is saying it's like an action RPG. It's an action RPG that looks a lot like Octopath Traveler. Is it by Square Enix? Is it using their like bespoke HD 2D art style? I think, as they call it. That started with Octopath Traveler on the first Nintendo Switch. Yeah, so we'll play another 5 minutes of this, and then we'll play some Pokemon Puzzle Challenge. And nice, 30-second ball saver, not bad. You know, that blue, yellow, white colors, those are the colors of the flag of the island of Sodor, interestingly enough. Yeah, we are going to have the Game Boy Night redemption options open, but only later in the stream, because I don't know, I just thought it would be more variety to actually play these Game Boy Color games, Pokemon, because I've been playing Pokemon Pinball in Game Boy mode up until now. And I'm like, yeah, let's shake it up. Let's actually play it the way most people would have played it at the time. If you had a Game Boy... I played this in color the one time I rented it. And I've played enough Who's That Pokemon to get a sense of who it may be that we're going after now. Yeah, need to keep remembering that the table tilt... Wow, Pikachu has a disproportionately large head in this. I think this is the first time I've tried to catch a Pikachu in this game. And up. Who am I kidding? There's no chance that they're gonna escape from the Pokeball. That's not how Pokemon catching works in this game. And little did we know at the time that this board music for the blue table was a sneak peek of one of the town themes from Pokemon Gold and Silver. Looks like we're in... Are we supposed to be in Viridian Forest right now? Looks like I narrowly avoided... There we go. There we go. We get some, Looks like we got... Yeah, this has got to be Viridian Forest. A Pikachu and a Caterpie. Where else in the game are you gonna... Is there Pikachu and Caterpie? And it's kind of funny how both with Pokemon Pinball and Kirby's Pinball Land, you could argue that they're both pinball remakes of their respective games. You know, and I keep convincing myself that Metroid Prime Pinball came out on the Wii U Virtual Console, and Metroid Prime Pinball is essentially a pinball remake of the first Metroid Prime game. No. And this one's... Gah! Nah, that was a nice example of this was in color last week, but you may have missed the early part of the stream. But yeah, so this was a Game Boy Color game, but it was fully compatible with the original Game Boy. So up until now, you could set the analog. Hold on, the analog pocket system that I use to play my my handheld games. Doggone. Yeah, there's options to make it behave like different systems. So you could have it act like an original model Game Boy, or you could have it act like a Game Boy Color. So this is the same copy of the same game, the same cartridge that I have in my device, but now I'm actually having the system look like it's playing on a Game Boy Color, and I got the Game Boy Color frame to match with it. The Game Boy Color frame is not part of the analog system, that's just part of my streaming layout. Hey, okay, so I want to see what's in that slot in the center. Oh, no, I think by slot, they mean like it'll actually activate like a slot machine type roulette, where we can get a bonus or something like that. Oh, come on, come on. Okay. Alright. Be safe. We got a ball save. I think, what is it, the first 30 seconds or the first minute? Oh, Clackaboy, I'm sorry I missed you in chat. Clackaboy saying it's that time of year when you need to order your Mardi Gras king cake. Oh, that's so cool. Okay, Azurest, thank you for replying to Calacaboy, because I overlooked that message in chat, and I don't have the fastest chat, but I do like to. But for that exact reason, I get to spend a lot of personal time. Well, not personal time, but I get to give a lot of attention to my individual chatters. So I'm like the Indian Valley Railroad in Shining Time Station. Maybe small, but we're nice. You know, we need to run some more Shining Time Station, because I haven't had any problems running Shining Time Station on stream before. I would delete it just for the sake of those Thomas shorts, but yeah, I haven't had any problems with it. Our main priority right now is going to be finishing Pokemon. Alright. Alright, we've got a, we're gonna finish this ball out. We're gonna finish this ball out. We're gonna play till game over. And yeah, I feel like I feel like Shining Time Station was kind of on the tail, even though it was a PBS show that would have had a bit more of a limited budget, but that, like, you'd see it on a lot of network TV shows in the 70s and 80s that were on reruns by the time I was a little kid. But I feel like Shining Time Station was on the tail end of them doing, like, entire multi-season shows using just 1 or 2 sets. Because if you think about Shining Time Station, your only sets are the main station room waiting area and the little workshop on the side that Henry Cupper and then later Billy Two Feathers worked in. Yeah, okay. This time we're gonna get all the we're mugging this Meowth. We're gonna assume this is Team Rocket's Meowth, and he's been a little butt face, and he deserves to get beat up a little bit. Okay. Okay. Now, that being said, I know Team Rocket's Meowth is a friend of the stream, Akita Space Cat, one of her favorite characters. Okay, looks like we came close, but we're not playing horseshoes. Ah, doggone. Yeah, it's worth a try. Oh. Come on, something good. Big. Nice. Okay. 6 million! Nice. I mean, I know it's kind of funny. I don't play this. I play this with the goal of, I guess, advancing through the game and catching Pokemon. I don't think in terms of, like, my high score. So, wow. Rock Mountain. What is Rock Mountain? I guess, do they mean, they don't, if they meant Mount Moon, surely they'd say Mount Moon. And Azure is saying, plus it entertains kids and adults. But a Collector Boy is saying, did I get a chance to see the... Oh yeah, I didn't get to see that yet. I know you were mentioning it last time around. Last stream. Yeah, I know my Tumblr may... unfortunately, most of the posts I make on Tumblr are automated and scheduled in advance. I am not on that site all day as much as, it may seem. Okay. Alright, now let's move on to Pokemon Puzzle Challenge for the last 10 minutes of our warm-up period. Alright, we'll quit out of there. Pop in Pokemon Puzzle Challenge. Because this is the first time, it's been a couple of years between me, the last time I played Pokemon Puzzle Challenge, because a lot of times I've been playing Pokemon Puzzle League on Nintendo 64, It's the first time in a while that I've played the Nintendo. Let's play challenge. No, we might as well. We've got 10 minutes. Let's play. Yeah, let's go with easy mode. And as we go on, it'll get faster and faster. Too fast for Thomas. He wanted to stop, but he couldn't. Help! Help! Stop! Stop! You can't get away! You can't get away! Sang the coaches. Oh gosh, yes, I do have the entire word-for-word scripts of several classic Thomas episodes, fully committed to memory. All right, and we're sort of so if we... Oh, that's not the, what I meant to do. That's not what I meant to do at all. Now... If we... We're only like a few moments in, and I'm so busy trying to make fancy combos while the speed is still only on level 4, that I went ahead and ended up already getting myself into like sort of panic mode near the top of the playfield, which is a little embarrassing, but it is just a game, and I mean, if I wanted to impress people, I wouldn't be playing on easy mode to begin with. Now, there was a time when I was playing through this game, I was actually making my way through the single-player campaign, which was based around the storyline of Pokemon Gold and Silver, unlike the storyline of Pokemon Puzzle League, which was based around the Pokemon anime. And, oh, and by the way, you know, yesterday was February 6th, 2026, which is historically, according to the lore of the original games, was the day that Mew gave birth to Mewtwo. Yeah, this is the same game mechanics as Pokemon Puzzle League, but it's a different entry in the series. This is for Game Boy Color. I believe there's let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. I believe that, like, there's 6, the playfield is 6 squares across. I believe in standard Panel de Pon on like, which would be something like the Super Nintendo version or the Nintendo 64 Pokemon Puzzle League. I believe it's 7 across instead of only 6. And, you know, the graphics are less advanced, but you could actually put this one in your pocket and take it with you. And, you know, part of what made Tetris on Game Boy such a hit was its ability to be played anywhere on Game Boy. And I find it's kind of ironic to me that the competitive scene around Tetris really more revolves around the NES version and modifications of the NES version that were made for the specific purpose of allowing the game to be played at even higher levels. Meanwhile, I feel like, for competitive purposes, the NES version is, you know, sort of the de facto standard, but for, like, in terms of what people actually played back then, I understand well, first off, people played Tetris on whatever they could, but as far as dedicated game devices were concerned, I understand that the Game Boy version was the killer app for Game Boy and the most popular version of Tetris. I believe there's a video of Hillary Clinton playing a Tetris on a Game Boy on an airplane in like 92 or 93 or something like that. I mean, it would probably be like sometime in the early 90s after Bill became president, because I guess I would reason that the reason they would be photography. Okay, I'm gonna report myself to the Department of Redundancy Department for that. But that would be that because it was on Air Force One and there were just some, I don't know, just some lifestyle or historical photographers, whatever you call them, you know, making pictures that will eventually appear in a coffee table book. You know, I've never had a coffee table book, but at the same time, I've never had a coffee table in a house that I actually, or a living or dwelling that I actually like lived in myself and that I was in charge of. I know, like, even when I was a kid, like, my first house growing up in New York City, I think at one point on the coffee table in the living room, now of course, it's a queen's living room, so it's a tiny little living room. I believe we had a glass bowl with nuts on it and one of those little nutcrackers that look like nunchucks. So we had that, but I never remember, like, having a coffee table book. And I understand sometimes those get really expensive. But yeah, it was a little living room, but it was the perfect... You had the perfect distance between the couch and the coffee table. And then you had the... Hey, nice combo. I set that one up intentionally. That was not an accident. Yeah, the perfect distance between the couch and the coffee table, so if you were eating a meal or whatever, you were good. And then... It was a little further from the coffee table to the TV, but it wasn't a big TV and it wasn't a big living room. I mean, this is back when a 23-inch television... We had a 23-inch television in the living room. And it didn't even have a VCR attached to it. The Sony Trinitron in my parents' room had a VCR attached to it. You know, I miss the days of TVs being little things that did not completely dominate the space that they were placed in. But yeah, lots of good memories on that TV and in that living room. You know, I regret not having saved those TVs and other CRTs that I either ended up getting destroyed in natural disasters or that I left behind. CRT meaning like cathode ray tube, like a traditional tube television. But to be completely real, I wouldn't have the space for wouldn't have had the space for them. They would have, I didn't have the space in my life for them. I wouldn't have been able to bring them with me as I moved across the country here and there. And but once I get a bigger apartment, I look forward to. I do have my CRT from my childhood bedroom in storage, and I think we got that CRT in like 2001 or 2. Yeah, it was 2001. No, actually, what happened was first I found a TV that a neighbor was throwing out. It was on the curb, and I'm like, hey, I'll see if it still works. I went and got my little red Radio Flyer wagon, and my Radio Flyer wagon is another thing. I need to have that restored, because when I left my childhood home, my parents weren't still living there. Like, the house was being vacated. It was going to a new owner, a new occupant. So I had to give my Radio Flyer... It's a wooden Radio Flyer wagon that my grandfather built for me in like 94, and I didn't have space to bring it with me at the time, so I left it. I left it in the front yard, actually. Like, we kind of fled the house, long story, but I called my friend, like, hey, go to the house and grab that wooden wagon in front and put it somewhere and I'll come get it. And he had it in the backyard. And unfortunately, there wasn't a tarp over it or anything, so when I got back about a year later, and went back to my childhood neighborhood, it was it had been exposed to the elements, so I need to find someone who could sort of do a restoration job on it and restore it to its former glory. It's a wooden... And the cool thing was the panels could come off, so if you wanted to carry something larger than the wagon, you could do that. And what I want to do is have it painted red and put a nameplate on it and a little plaque saying, like, my grandfather built this in 1995. It'll be cool. But for now, the wagon I use for practical purposes, it's another Radio Flyer, but it's a soft side Radio Flyer wagon, so it can fold up like a baby carriage that folds up. And it has soft sides. And I think there's a way you could fold down the side. I mean, it's set up so you could, like, cart kids around in it, little kids, but for me personally, I think it's more... I don't know, my parents never carried me around in a wagon when I was a little kid. I usually just walked. The one time I remember being in a stroller, I must have been 3 or 4 at the oldest. No, I must have been like probably 3. Yeah, I had to be 3 or 4. We went to Kings Island, Paramount Kings Island amusement park, and they were pushing me around in a stroller all day. And basically all I remember is just being in the stroller. That's like my only memory of that. It's at an age, I was at an age when a lot of people don't even have any lasting memories, and where some say definitively that, you know, people don't have memories at that age. I'm like, yeah, like, oh, they aren't even conscious at that age. Like, I certainly was, though I was at a bit of an atypical developmental cycle, to say the least. So maybe that me having memories at an earlier age than most people happens to be part of that. But I have memories of being in a high chair. Alright, we're just going to set that timer for 30 minutes. We're going to quit the game. And we're going to switch over to... Oh. Hey, there we go. Okay, it worked. I know what I'm doing. And you might notice I'm playing my Game Boy Color games on a new layout, and my layout for Pokemon's new too. I made my my avatar a little bigger. There we go. And at this time, I needed to not forget to go ahead and activate... Okay. So, Game Boy right there. There. And... there. Okay. Alright, we're good. Oh wait, no, almost. Okay. There, we click there. Alright, now we're good. We're ready to go now. So we'll play Pokemon for a little... Now, this setting, I typically have been playing on the original game, or the original DMG Game Boy, the infamous cabbage green screen, because this is how I originally experienced Pokemon back in the day. But I admit it's not especially appealing if you don't have personal nostalgia for it. And playing on the mode that sort of simulates the screen of the Game Boy Light is a much it's much more suitable for... Alright, so our Pokemon are all 32. So Nidorino, Jigglypuff, and Gyarados are all level 32. What do you have to say? There's a narrow trail west of Viridian City. It goes to the Pokemon League headquarters. The League governs all trainers. Okay, we talked to them. Yeah, I believe we talked to all the trainers. And we're going to... Alright, so do we go to... Let's do the Safari Zone next, because we've got to do it sooner or later. And we might as well get it out the way. This was one of the areas that I was sincerely kind of stumped at as a kid. Is this the main building? No, this isn't it. This is like the office. Fuchsia City, behold, it's passion pink. Or it's just green. Pokemon Paradise, Safari Zone. Okay. I guess we're gonna need to use... Wait, can we walk around? Do they really make it so you have to use cut? Okay, it's just a shortcut. And I probably only lost 1 second by walking the long way around. Oh wait, we're still gonna have to use cut to get in here, so... Okay, Beedrill, use cut. Cut our way in. There we go. Safari Zone. Pokemon you catch. We're 34 hours into this, and it should be pretty accurate, because I have been consistently keeping up with actually not having the game running while I'm not playing it. Hi, is it your first time here? Yes. Safari Zone has 4 zones in it. Hold on. Safari Zone has 4 zones in it. It's time for copywriter H time. Okay, so CONES. They could have easily ZONESAREAS. Okay, they could have very easily just said Safari Zone has 4 areas in it. Instead, they used the word zone twice in a single text box. And alright. So, yeah, Kalaka Boy has, redeemed Sodor lore reading, which means we're going to, take just a brief moment to, learn a little bit about the deep lore and rich history of the island of Sodor. And, well, here's Reverend Audrey himself in his study, which has been rebuilt inch for inch at the Narrow Gauge Railway Museum. And there's Christopher Audrey here, who's I think someone just did an interview with Christopher Audrey that's going up on YouTube within the next day or two. 3 generations of Audreys pictured during a recent visit to Sodor. George Audrey had a radio control marker. See Arlesdale Railway. Okay. This here, I know it's kind of superimposed. This is an image of Reverend Audrey. And, okay, so continue on places in Sodor. We were reading about, where were we reading about? We were reading about Glennock. Still more interesting is the fact that there is a door into the chapel from the platform. Methodism is strong in this valley. Sir Handel's father was a lifelong Methodist, and so is he. Sunday travel was frowned on by the Skarloey Railway, and there were no ordinary trains. But traveling to church was different. They were not able to keep it during the lean years, but their chapel trains were a great feature of the railway till the 1930s. The timings varied according to the availability of a minister or a preacher, but every Sunday, either in the morning, afternoon, or evening, an up train would leave from Crovan's Gate and a down train left Skarloey. Both trains would be timed to reach the passing loop at Glennock 20 minutes before the service was due to start. Once in the loop, passengers and crew went out to chapel, only expecting the crew member whose turn it was to stay on duty with the trains. When service was over, the engines ran round their respective trains ready for the journey home. 2 engines were needed on Sundays. Normally in the old days, the weekday traffic did not warrant the use of more than 1 engine and steam, as loaded ore and slate trains came down by gravity, as seen in Very Old Engines, page 12. This practice was only stopped in 1926 when a gravity slate train ran through the wharf and spread itself all over the Northwestern Railway main line. Glennock's position... Well, I know, like, on the Festiniog Railway, there were attendants on board the gravity down trains that had handbrakes they could operate. I don't know if they just let the trains roll down by gravity loosely, but Glennock's position made it suitable not only as a chapel center, but as a school center as well. Before World War II, the school here catered for all ages, but since 1948 it has taken juniors only. The seniors travel daily to schools in Crovan's Gate. Beyond the station, the line swings north once more through arable and pasture land, passing scattered cottages and farms. From each farmhouse there's usually a well-marked path leading to a stile or gate in the line sign hedge. These are unofficial, but traditional request stops for certain trains are well used on market days. It was on this stretch, when going perhaps too fast over track not properly bedded down, that Skarloey in 1865 bounced the manager of the footplate into a bush. Still climbing gently, the line crosses the river again by another girder bridge similar to Little Old Engines, page 27, and enters what is generally known to Skarloey Railway gangers as that dreaded tunnel section. Alright, so that is the history of Glennock on the Skarloey Railway of the island of Sodor. And, yeah, so Even though I've been... so I'm just waking up my analog pocket. We're going to drop that on the dock and resume the game. There we go. Yeah, even though I'm a lifelong Thomas fan and know a lot of lore, learning about those church trains was actually... I didn't know that Sir Handel Brown was a Methodist. I did not know that. And I did not know that, that they ran special church trains. Each zone has different kinds of Pokemon. Use Safari Balls to catch them. When you run out of time or Safari Balls, it's game over for you. Before you go, open an unused Pokemon box so there's room for new Pokemon. Alright. Welcome to the Safari Zone. For just 500 Poke-Yen, you can catch all the Pokemon you want in the park. Would you like to join the hunt? Hey, we got $19.90. That's 6 years before this game came out. You only use a special Pokeball here. Each received 30 Safari Balls. We'll call you on the PA when you run out of time, or Safari Balls. Yep, so we have 500 steps to go, and we have 30 Safari Balls. Trainer tips. Press the start button to check remaining time. Rest House. I'm catching Pokemon to take home as gifts. Yes, I gave him the dorky Poindexter voice. I don't know why. Sarah, where did my boyfriend Eric go? I forgot that Sarah and Eric were a thing. Uh-oh. Let's see how this works. Wow, a Nidorina. Yeah, so, okay. So we could throw a rock? Yeah, pay to come into this place and throw rocks at the wildlife. That's, yeah, if they eventually did, very more, they tamed this down a bit to make it less like you're being mean to the Pokemon. Now, Collectible in chat is asking, did I ever have a Thomas the Tank Engine? As a kid, did I ever have a Thomas the Tank Engine themed birthday party? Plates, cups, napkins, all themed to Thomas? You know, I don't remember. If I did, it didn't make an impression on me. And if I did, it was probably more my parents' idea than mine. I would have certainly enjoyed it, though. Because I'm growing up in that era where they're, like, between, like, season 2 and 3 of Thomas the Tank Engine, when you had that Owain Bell music. Now, one thing, if one of those things where if I could turn back time, apparently there were a few original Thomas pieces by Owain Bell, and my mom didn't end up getting one. I don't think they were too expensive, but it was a unique opportunity. I had an Owain Bell Thomas poster. Let's throw some bait. Alright. Okay, let's try to catch him. You missed the Pokemon. Oh, come on. Ah. Doggone. And that's what you're gonna get a whole lot of in this Safari Zone. A whole lot of, yeah, I'm actually going to have to make... Yeah, I am looking for something specific here, and I do not... Of all the areas, of all the actual field maps in the game, center area, north area too, this is definitely the part of the game I remember the least in terms of where I have to travel to or where I have to go. I know what I have to do, as to actually getting there, I can't say. Yeah. Alright, come on. Huh? Nice! Okay. We caught Doduo. We didn't even have to throw any food or rocks. And we caught a new Pokemon. Doduo, the twin bird Pokemon. A bird that makes up for its poor flying with its fast foot speed. Leaves giant footprints. Do you want to give a nickname to Doduo? No. If I gave him a nickname, it would probably be Janus or something like that. Oh, let's see what's this. Oh, Carbos. That's actually a good item. It's very expensive to buy these. Okay, so let's see what's over here. Oh wow, a Parasect. Yeah, we did not raise a Paras when we had the chance, so darn. Okay. The Pokemon broke free. And they ran. And they're gone. Yeah, this music here is the theme used for the little cutscenes when Pokemon evolve. And it's very sort of suspenseful. Wow, lots of people coming here to, I guess, lose expensive items. How many did you catch? I'm bushed from the work. I caught a Chansey. That makes this all worthwhile. Whew, I'm tired from all the fun. Crammed full of Pokemon books. Alright, let's go south. Yeah. No, I mean north. I don't know why I said south. I mean, south at the time, but we're south out of the door, but we're going... Oh, it's Kangaskhan, the maternal Pokemon. The only Pokemon that is allowed to explicitly be referenced as having children. Like, there's an official style guide of what you can and can't do with Pokemon. And it's like, Pokemon cannot be depicted as parents or having children, except for Kangaskhan. So, like, there'll be, like, an Espeon and an Umbreon in, like, the anime. There's a episode around 2021 or so. There was an episode of the Pokemon anime where... what was going on? Like, yeah, it was an Espeon and an Umbreon that were very clearly raising an Eevee. And everyone was, in the show was like, oh, Espeon and Umbreon are concerned about their friend Eevee. And it's like, okay, that they're really very clearly writing around these restrictions put in about the depiction of Pokemon raising children. Which is absurd, but whatever. Oh, and they're gone. Okay. We already have a Nidoran male, okay? And I just threw the Pokeball in the course of button mashing. We're getting out of here. Alright. Trainer tips. The remaining time declines only while you walk. We used almost half our time up already. Alright. So, if I remember this, trainer tips. Pokemon hide in tall grass. Zigzag through grassy areas to flush them out. I believe we need to go south here. No, not far enough. And another Nidoran. We're getting out of here. Alright. Alright, if we go up. Oh, okay. Come on, be a Chansey or something cool. A Nidorino. We already have you. We already have one. Bye. So if we go... Area 2... Trainer tips. Zone exploration campaign. The search for the secret house. I forgot about that. There was something called the secret house. Okay. We have 161 steps. Area 3. Nice! Map. Really killer items you're getting in this area. Let's see what this is. Max Potion. Okay. Now, I remember having to go south at some point. Ah, now this is one... I believe this is one of the... This is a really great Pokemon to get, actually. And yes, Execute counts all of these eggs are treated, these eggs with, cracked eggs with faces, they're just all treated as a single Pokemon. There's some bait. While the Execute is eating. Nice. I did not think that would work so well, but it did. New Pokédex data will be added for Execute. Often mistaken for eggs, when disturbed, they quickly gather and attack in swarms. Do you want to give a nickname to Execute? No. Execute sent to Bill's PC. Is this the secret house? Rest house. No, that's not the secret house. Better get some good lore. Using bait will make Pokemon easier to catch. I hiked a lot, but I didn't see any Pokemon I wanted. Let's see what this guy says. Tossing rocks at Pokemon might make them run, but they'll be easier to catch. Okay. Got a little lore. But... oh, come on, give me something good. Give me something good. Nah. Yeah, let me just run from this. I already used 11 balls in this place. 11 Safari balls. Okay. Alright. Oh. Alright, so we gotta get up there somehow. Ah, doggone. Ding dong. Time's up. Your Safari game is over. Did you get a good haul? Come again. Alright. I mean, you've been watching me on camera, on CCTV, I guess. Alright. We gotta go back in. There's an actual plot important reason to go up there, so... Gonna do a little less poking around this time, so we'll probably be able to get a lot further. Oh wait, is this... okay. Alright. Can I ride the bike in here? Hey! Nice. We're losing the atmosphere of the iconic Safari Zone music. I did not mean to throw that. I meant to run. Okay, great. Caught an unnecessary Nidoran mail. Nah. Okay. Oh, wait. I didn't... okay, this is not... we found a max potion for our trouble, though, so... alright. So, yeah. I didn't realize that was a... I thought that was going to be a one-way route. I'm glad it was not. So if we... I'm out of I actually finally filled up the box on the PC. So we can't even attempt to catch Pokemon anymore. So we better not encounter like a Chansey or anything crazy like that. That's a rare and desirable Pokemon. Okay. Oh, come on. This area is just a dead end to waste my time? Sure. How do we avoid that the first time around? Okay. Which... is this that area too? Okay. Then we went south. And there's that sign. Oh. Alright, we gotta find some other way to that area. How are we doing? Oh my goodness, we're already down to only... hold on. 53? 52. Are we using up our time faster by using... okay. 52. 50... wow, I did not know that. The bicycle uses your time up faster. The bicycle counts as 2 steps. We blew it. We wasted coming in here. We wasted coming in here. That's sad. That sucks. That's some real butt. When I go to, when we get kicked out, we're about to get kicked out of the Safari Zone, and when we do, I'll go change the PC box on the computer, in game, like, not in my real computer, and that, okay, so, alright. Did I get a good haul? Come again. Alright, we gotta go south. We gotta cut through here. It's wasting money, but at least we're not losing any time over this. Alright, so if we go south... I mean, at least, yeah, we're not losing any, like, healing items. Our Pokemon aren't... Yeah, these are the only Pokemon battles in the game that do not actually... where you don't send your Pokemon out to fight. So we'll, just go up north. The Pokemon Center. Well, it's actually in the south of town, but I was traveling north at the time I said that. We'll open up this, Macintosh SE looking computer. Bill's PC. And we'll change box. And to box 3. And now we'll be able to, catch a new Pokemon. Yeah, we've got to make our way to the center of the Safari Zone, I believe it is. Where, we're going to find an item that a certain other character in town is, looking for. And for some reason his moronic friends don't understand that, what's going on, what he's trying to ask them for. Welcome to the Safari Zone. For just 500, catch all the Pokemon you want in the park. Would you like to go? Yes. Okay, we're going to actually save. We're gonna save in here because we most certainly do. Yeah, unfortunately we're gonna have to hoof it. We don't have a Ponyta to ride on, but we're gonna have to, go. Oh, you know what? Okay. Alright. So that area there. This is right past... This is part of that early area. Okay. I'm just getting a sense of how all these different areas, connect and converge. Now I realize I was very close to where we started off, but we were just, blocked by the, geography of the map design. Yeah, wait, I don't think we have a Paris. I don't think we do. I've raised them in the past, in previous playthroughs. I don't think we have one. I know that Parasect we almost caught. We had a Parasect at one point, we ran. Come on, be new. Please be new. Come on. Yeah! New Pokédex entry. We got it. Paris, the mushroom Pokemon. Burrows to suck tree roots. The mushrooms on its back grow by drawing nutrients from the bug host. Do you want to give a nickname to Paris? No. Yeah, it's a little crab-looking bug that has parasitic mushrooms growing on his back. Okay, I forgot. Okay, we're taking the circuitous route. I don't know how I ended up making... I mean, I've done it twice, so it's officially a habit at this point, but... Yeah, do not rush on bike through the Safari Zone. You know, it's possible. Theoretically, I could. Huh. Call him Sucker? Alright. Yeah, Sucker. Yeah, Twitch is, a little overly sensitive about some of its, automated censorship. automated moderation. It's like, yeah, call him sucker because of the mush, because it burrows to drain nutrients from tree roots. Oh wait, okay, so here, get a free HM for finding the secret house. Alright, so we actually have 2 goals in here. I forgot you would earn an HM for the secret house. And actually, for the sake of, let's see. Alright, we're gonna pull up the player's guide. For the sake of having the stream go smoothly, I'm actually going to cheat and look at the, well, not well, if this was meant to be like a purely unassisted playthrough, it would be cheating, but we've been looking at this guide since the beginning. So Fuchsia City, we've got, okay, so area 1, no, okay, so the entrance, we came in the entrance. Okay, so we're in, no, this is not area 2, we're in, no, okay. Secret house sweepstakes. Alright, we're in area 2 here, okay. Alright, we're gonna save the game here. We're gonna take a 5-minute break, and when we come back, what we're gonna do next, yeah, when we come back, what we'll be doing is, we're already set up on the right playlist for it, but we're gonna be reading a Electronic Gaming Monthly from January 1996. Now, the interesting thing here, we read a January 96 magazine last time around, which was only, like, to put this in perspective, N64 is the hot new story. Pokemon is going to come out in Japan in February. So we're only, like, a few weeks away from the release of Pokemon in Japan. But we're going to see, last time we read Nintendo Power's official coverage of Shoshinkai and Space World, we're going to actually get to see third party, so non-Nintendo, so that means they'll be reporting on the maybe some less favorable, less flattering aspects, some unofficial rumors Nintendo doesn't want to acknowledge or discuss at this time, and we'll get a third party perspective on the Nintendo 64 big blowout, along with Zelda 64 and a few other games. Then we have Revolution X, which also had coverage, and mind you, it's easy to forget, it's easy to lose track. At this point, PlayStation 1 is out, but we are still well within the 16-bit era. Sega Genesis and Super NES are still on the market and still having games released at this point. So even though Super NES is out, it is not like we're not like, oh, it's the 32-bit, 3D era, 16-bit is, obsolete at this point. Absolutely not. Even though it is very clearly on its way out. So I will be back in 5 minutes. Solely, loyally, tawapona. Alright, I don't know how in sync that was, because I think there's a bit of a delay between my music and as I hear it and how y'all hear it, and how you'll hear me overlap with the microphone. But, yeah, let's, where's my button? There's my button. Hi, everybody. Alright, we're gonna go to... Oh, you know what? You know, I was going to read... I guess when I planned the stream out, I was going to read this first. But I already told my viewers live in chat that I would be reading Electronic Gaming Monthly. And I think that's what I put in my stream title when I changed the title out. So we're going to read that instead first. We'll check this out for the next hour. And after that, we'll get into some more Pokemon. So, photos from Japan. Ultra 64 with a little trademark sign that ended up not... I don't even think they have that trademark. I think whole part of the reason they changed the name from Ultra 64 to Nintendo 64 was because they had some kind of trademark problems with Konami's Ultra Games label. But new PlayStation games, Revolution X, which I heard was terrible. I believe it also had a Super NES version. DEFCON 5, XCOM, which is, you know, it's XCOM. I never played it, but I know of it. It's one of those games that has a lasting influence. If you look at games like Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle, when you have complete 12-page guide to all new 64-bit games, Zelda 64, Pilot Wing 64, Star Fox 64, Wave Race 64, Super Mario Kart R, and much more, which ended up just being called Mario Kart 64. And, yeah, they would... Here's something funny about this stock, like, unspecified N64 cartridge. They would use these, like, stock, these, like, sort of unspecified N64 cartridges a lot in official art, and I got confused when I got my N64. I was very confused why a lot of the games did not actually the games didn't have the labels on them. They would always just show a cartridge with a label on it, and I was thinking like, oh, I'll have to make my own label so I'll know which game is which. But I guess they were just using that for promotional purposes. You know, I was on Analog's website earlier today. The makers of the Analog Pocket device I'm using today. They have an N64, and it's very tempting. It is indescribably tempting to get myself a Analog 64 or whatever they call it, but Analog 3D I think is what the system's called, but it's not the wisest decision I can make right now. I have plenty of games to play, and there may be, now that Rayman 2 is on the Nintendo Switch online Nintendo Classics, there might be the only games I really want to play on N64 that are not already on Nintendo Switch Online would be Mischief Makers. Yeah, Mischief Makers. What else? Yeah, Mischief Makers, Mystical Ninja starring Goemon, Goemon's Great Adventure, Bomberman 64, Chameleon Twist. Yeah, I would be paying $300 plus shipping for an FPGA console to play 5 cartridge games. Only one of those games I currently even own the cartridge for. So yeah, not a wise decision. But moving on, we've got a Konami XXL Sports Series. Oh, speaking of, I was just talking about Mystical Ninja. So we're going to turn the page a bit. We're going to turn it sideways. So this is back when, look at this, that brief period where we would have Super NES and PlayStation games coming out alongside each other, different versions of some of the, or equivalent versions of the same, or equivalent titles, coming out on both Super Nintendo and PlayStation. And this is back when these early PlayStation days, and Saturn as well. I think Saturn had large boxes to the end, I believe. But PlayStation early on had these big, long boxes that didn't last very long. Only in like the first, okay. No. We gotta, there we go. Now we're good now. Oh, Secret of Evermore here. I don't know about this monster. He doesn't look very tough. I don't think his claws are nearly big enough. But being last is not always best. Alright. Yeah, let's check this out. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've been waiting for. Nintendo's Ultra 64. This system has been shrouded in secrecy. I almost said mystery just out of habit, but it's been shrouded in secrecy ever since the beginning. And now EGM and all you readers are going to have a look at the future of gaming. That was hype I just fed you. Did you fall for it? Probably, and why shouldn't you? Everyone in the gaming community, including this magazine, has been touting the U64 as the most incredible system on the planet, and maybe it is. However, before you get lured into saving every penny you've got just to buy a U64 or N64 in Japan. Yeah, this was during that, I guess there was a brief period between Shoshinkai and I guess maybe sometime early in 96 where Nintendo was going to call this they were going to call the system Ultra 64 in the Western world and Nintendo 64 in Japan. But anyway, take the time to look at the full picture and listen to what I have to say. The aura surrounding the PlayStation, Saturn, and Jaguar releases has hardly had time to fade away, and yet here comes Nintendo ready to strut its stuff. Are all of you PlayStation, Saturn, and Jaguar owners truly sick of your new systems and must now buy a U64 to quench your thirst for all things new? I bet Nintendo is counting on that. What we are not counting on are the parents who are probably fed up with little Johnny and Jane's expensive habit of getting new game systems. Heck, this hobby ain't cheap. And there comes a time when every consumer must say, I've had enough. While I can't speak for everybody, even though I try, I think many of you will agree with me. If there could be a repeat of those special offers, you know, the hey, trade in your crusty old PlayStation, Saturn, or Jaguar and 10 games for these primitive systems and bring home a brand spanking new Ultra 64 for X amount of dollars. Hurry, we could use the cash. Sorry, but I've grown quite fond of my PlayStation, despite my earlier reluctance to purchase one. Software companies are showing full support, and the games for the most part are quite excellent. Besides, it's not my fault I bought a PlayStation, because Nintendo kept delaying the U64. I have no doubt Nintendo will stand behind its new baby for a long time to come. I'm sure it will be a good system, but I just don't expect everyone to rush out and buy one for its near $300 price unless you didn't buy a new system this year. I'm afraid I'll find myself playing alone on the PlayStation, playing my PlayStation on the Ultra 64 launch date. Sorry. Now, long term, well, sometime between now and the launch, they ended up deciding to launch at $200 rather than $350. $300, then they lowered it to $250, and eventually they lowered it again to $200. Now, unadjusted for inflation, Nintendo launched the Super NES and 64 and the GameCube all at $200, and finally they launched the Wii in 2006 at $250. Here's that Spawn game for the Super NES. Yes, Todd McFarlane Spawn the video game. Not too long, around the time of the Spawn Hollywood movie, there was a Spawn game for the PlayStation that me and my brother rented a couple of times. Blazing Dragons. Here's a game I never heard of again. Oh, I never heard of. I kind of remember it being mentioned, but yeah, I never. Check out our exclusive coverage on page 74 of Ultra 64. The long-awaited Ultra 64 is no longer vaporware. For the first time, Nintendo raises the curtain of secrecy to give the gaming press the first look at what may be the most powerful home system ever, the Ultra 64. Powerhouse of the future? Certainly the most powerful, but it made some sacrifices in terms of what Nintendo wanted to prioritize, and even though, like, oh, PlayStation was 32-bit and Nintendo 64 was 64-bit, the reality was the systems were they were within very close striking distance of one another. And each system, they were fully capable of rendering polygonal 3D worlds, but each was very specialized for different aspects of how to approach that problem of rendering polygonal 3D worlds. And it would basically turn out that for every advantage N64 had on a technical level, in terms of like just looking at its numbers, its technical performance, every performance the N64 had, PlayStation, every advantage N64 had over PlayStation had an equivalent advantage over N64. So it's really just sort of two different approaches to the same problem. So it's not like, oh, because the PlayStation had used CDs, they could offer the games for a lower price, and lower to developers and publishers, and lower to the consumers. They were also able to have full motion video cutscenes, which took up a lot more data than Nintendo could fit on these cartridges. And the sheer, I guess, wow factor of full motion video cutscenes on PlayStation made it very easy to depict Nintendo 64 as being hopelessly obsolete. But Nintendo 64 was able to do a lot of things in certain games that PlayStation would have a hard time matching one for one. It was very, I'd say they were very evenly matched, but just in different ways. Unveiling of N64, the Game Shark takes a big bite out of tricky games. Having trouble? Okay, this is going to be interesting. Let's read this. Yeah, so this is them developing the Game Shark. Having troubles with Sega, Saturn, and PlayStation games, worried that some of the Ultra 64 games could prove too difficult, Daytel and Interactive team up to create a new Game Genie type device for these systems. As well, Interact won't leave you swimming alone after your purchase. They are offering opportunities to always get the latest codes, like code updates in our mag, as well as providing newsletter that Game Shark owners can receive. If money is tight, Interact has a memory card in equal memory to Sony's, except that it costs only $20. So yeah, this is Game Genie was the main cheat device, but this is when a Game Shark sort of started to overtake it. I have a game here, Blade Force for the 3DO. That's a game I never heard of again. Killing Time for 3DO. That's something I am aware of. I never really saw it being played. Okay. 4 systems, 1 market. So, Sony forecast. Sony's strong marketing team gives it a slight edge in 96, but again, the PlayStation battles 64-bit systems. It turns out that it would absolutely dominate 64-bit systems like the Jaguar, which didn't last long on the market, and Nintendo's N64. Sega, the forecast. Should the Saturn falter in the face of Sony and Nintendo, Sega could very well dump its hardware manufacturing onto someone else and focus publishing on various platforms. Yeah, long term, that's exactly what happened. Actually, not even, arguably short term, because this is 96. By 2001, Sony, or Sega, withdrew from manufacturing hardware and focused on making games for other systems. Panasonic. The forecast, the electronics conglomerate has the money marketing to sell the M2 to a mass market, but it's betting a lot on other parties such as 3DO to churn out killer games. I don't even know what the M2 is. Alright. 4 systems, 1 market. When there are too many cooks in the video game kitchen, someone's liable to get burned come Christmas. In the meantime, the top 4 video hardware platforms slated for 1996, the Ultra 64, the Saturn, the PlayStation, and M2. Is that like a progressive, like, successor console to the 3DO? Because I remember there were like plans for like a 3DO 2 and a 3DO 3, and the 3DO 1 didn't even last that long on the market. But will coexist in an unstable market that no one company will dominate this summer. That's a conclusion reached by industry analysts as they look towards 1996. A year in which 16-bit systems will walk into the sunset and the next generation systems will rise. Who's in charge? Analysts agree that the 1996 market will decline as the shift from 16-bit goes full swing. Aside from one or two big titles, many developers will abandon Sega Genesis and Super NES development. Under the most likely scenario, we see a split of the marketplace for the next-gen system, says market analyst David Cole. Basically, four platforms will survive. The Ultra 64, assuming Nintendo will deliver as promised. The Saturn, the PlayStation, and 3DO will continue to have their foot in the door and widen that foothold should the M2 win acceptance. Analyst Mike Wallace of UBS Securities suggested that Sega may exit the hardware business altogether in favor of software titles. Now that Matsushita has decided to go with the M2 full force, it wouldn't surprise me if Sega pulled the plug on its hardware system and developed for someone else, maybe the M2. I don't think the Saturn's going to last, he said. Sega officials would not comment on such a prospect. So Matsushita here is effectively the Japanese name of Panasonic to simplify things. Now Panasonic, I believe 3DO was its own company, and they licensed the rights to manufacture 3DO compatible systems to several companies, the biggest of which was Panasonic, and then Panasonic, I guess independently, was developing a more powerful 3DO system. It's a mess considering the 3DO wasn't even that well established at this point. But I'm looking here. Yeah, but they even this early they're talking about Sega. They're speculating on Sega leaving the game hardware business, not making their own systems, making developments and ventures and publishing software for their former competitors. We have some quotes here. I won't lie to you, we screwed up with 32X. We overpromised and under-delivered, says Sega's Mike Ribeiro. And then analyst David Cole says, we don't think Atari has a chance, not a prayer, it's too little too late. And Mike Wallace saying, it wouldn't surprise me if Sega pulled the plug on its hardware system. No, they didn't abandon Saturn until it actually failed to thrive in the market. But you have Nintendo here. Forecast, make no mistake, the Ultra 64 will sell like hotcakes if it's delivered with a $250 price tag, but a higher price and expensive cards could prevent the system from reaching blockbuster sales. Win it all? Okay, originally we said they could back up the Jaguar with quality software in 95. They could do okay. It's too little too late now. I wouldn't give them so much as a shot, he included. As far as other platforms go, analysts said Neo Geo will remain a niche market in danger of folding. Yeah, Neo Geo really was a hobbyist platform. And Bandai's multimedia Pippin system will prove too expensive to market as a home video console. Now, Bandai's Pippin was actually a joint venture with Apple to effectively create a game console version of a PowerPC Macintosh. And because of the Bandai connection, I believe there were some games based on Bandai connected properties. Like there was a Gundam game on that system that used live action American actors to reenact scenes from the 1979 Mobile Suit Gundam series, which had not yet been brought to America yet, so it was just kind of odd. But neither, and of course, when it comes to the Pippin, I was familiar with, I was distantly familiar with Atari Jaguar. I was familiar with 3DO because my pastor's son had one. I didn't know about M2. I knew about Sega 32X. I wasn't very impressed by it. I didn't know that the Neo Geo even existed. I would learn within about a couple of years just through reading these magazines that the Neo Geo did exist, but I was not aware of the Bandai Pippin. but neither Atari nor Sega officials say they're giving up on Jaguar or 32X systems. We haven't abandoned the 32X, says Mike Ribeiro, Sega Vice President of Marketing. I won't lie to you, we screwed up with 32X. We overpromised and underdelivered. However, Ribeiro contended that Sega is evolving its game library to sustain the 32X in 96. Yeah, pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. Yeah, we have coverage of online gaming for the Sega Saturn in Japan. And Sega Saturn actually did moderately well in Japan. It actually did pretty okay in Japan. In fact, I believe in Japan, the Saturn actually, I believe, outsold the Mega Drive in Japan, which Mega Drive being the Japanese equivalent to the Genesis. Yeah, so Matsushita, aka Panasonic, they have the 64-bit M2 technology. Said previous. Yeah, so yeah, Panasonic ended up they kind of left trying to make their own video game consoles, and instead kind of actually partnered with Nintendo to help develop the optical disc technology used on the GameCube. And in return for that, Nintendo would feature, when they would have advertisements for GameCube or Game Boy Advance, they'd show Game Boy Advance plugged into Panasonic headphones, and they'd show GameCube plugged into Panasonic surround sound speakers with a Panasonic television. And they had what they called the Cube Club. It was a touring show, and it was kind of like a nightclub-ish kind of thing. It was a touring show with Panasonic electronics, MP3 players, TVs, speakers, all kinds of stuff, as well as Nintendo. It was mainly Nintendo, but they were also showcasing Panasonic products. And in Japan only, Panasonic released what was then called the Q, which was a DVD player with GameCube playback with GameCube compatibility. It was a cube-shaped DVD player with GameCube controller ports and memory card ports in the front of it. So we've got the Ultra 64. Now let's check this out. So we get a bit of a. Last time we read the Nintendo Power. N64 is going to be amazing kind of look. Now we have a bit more of an objective look. So no other home video game system, no multimedia personal computer is the equal of Nintendo Ultra 64. That statement from Nintendo company president Hiroshi Yamauchi has not fallen on deaf ears of gaming foes. As Nintendo weaves a spell that highlights the Ultra 64's technical dominance, rivals work to dispel that notion from a marketing standpoint. Even the strongest of armor has weak points, and as the Ultra 64 launch nears, competitors tell how they'll exploit those weaknesses to fight the Ultra 64. 1. High cartridge prices. Nintendo is bucking every industrial trend by going cartridge, says Mike Ribeiro, Sega executive Vice President of Marketing. The flaw with the concept is that the games will need expensive memory chips, jacking cart prices to $100. Yeah, that did not happen. That absolutely did not happen. There were never $100 games on Nintendo 64 at that time. Sega will have a library of titles between 39 and 59. While Sony has not made an announcement, it's likely that they'll follow suit. Weakness, the M2 form factor. Panasonic will not bring the M2 to market without quality software. But should the Ultra 64 software not live up to Nintendo's self-proclaimed standards, the M2 would be in a very attractive market position. What is this? Okay, this is a paid advertisement. Oh yeah, so here's Comic Zone. This is a game that the Comic Zone is a game that I played at my friend's house back then. Captain Quasar. I don't know. I'm like, it might be a great game, but looking at this, This is not significantly more This is barely more This is marginally to me more impressive than what like Super NES and Genesis were doing in terms of these screenshots. Now, looking at the game in motion, the difference is probably going to be obvious, but looking at these screenshots, I'm not very blown away. Yeah, got a joystick review. Star Trek Deep Space Nine Harbinger. I remember watching Star Trek Deep Space Nine on the first TV I had in my room was like maybe a 10-inch little tube set. I remember watching it. This beamed off the North Tower of the World Trade Center in my bedroom, where I had my NES plugged into that little thing. Pocket Fan, Sports and More. Just the Super Data Blaster comes in 3 flavors: NFL, NBA, and MLB. Each sells for $50. Data update cartridges will be $14.99 each. Sports and More, just fingertips away. Tiger's Super Data Blaster caters to sports fans who need quick access to sports statistics. It's like carrying a book of statistics around along with other options, said Dan Sabato, product manager for the Super Data Blaster. It gets a kid involved and up to date. Alright. This is, yeah, this is what, before you could download an app to your smartphone to get stats on your favorite sports franchises, you would get one of these little things. And unfortunately, the idea of having interchangeable cartridges was a good step forward. So each year or each season, they could update it, give you the newest cartridge with updated stats. But honestly, I don't know. I wonder if this was used a lot for betting. But if you know what? I would bet that the baseball version of this sold the best, because I have baseball friends. I'm from New York. I have baseball friends. I find this thing to be the most appealing to them in particular. But another Macross Plus music CD. Japanimation fans. Yeah. Japanimation, back before the phrase anime was in common parlance. Japanimation fans could feast their ears on the recently released Macross Plus Original Soundtrack 2, which features more music based on the Macross Plus film. The Japanese movie is loosely based on a popular animated TV series known as Robotech that took hold in the United States during the mid-'80s. No, really, it was more that Robotech was derivative of Macross, or Macross, to say it more properly. Alright. An introductory to the hierarchy of Doom. Cyber Demon, Spider Demon, Revenant, Imp, Mancubus, Arachnotron, Cacodemon, Lost Soul, Knight of Hell, Baron of Hell, Demon, Spectre Invisible, Former Soldier, Former Sergeant, and you. Yeah, I thought I'm not a big horror gamer, but I remember my first and only Doom game I ever played was Doom 64. I thought these monsters were pretty cool. Yeah, Space Griffin VF9. Yeah, this is back when you still have those that's interesting. This is apparently an RPG. I would have thought it was a shooter or something. Sex, drugs, violence, weapons, San Francisco, men in tights. Okay. We got some 3DO games. Brain Dead 13. I never heard of this game before. Let's see here. Got some Tekken codes for the Tekken arcade game, how to do some different moves. Think of it as little toy blocks on great big steroids. Yeah, SimCity 2000. I've never played a SimCity game. Oh, we've got Dead Meat. We got Killer Instinct for Game Boy. I don't know. And of course we have these Game Boys that like to use a lot for advertising and like commercials and stuff. They'd have these Game Boys with these gigantic oversized Game Boy logos. And this is not like the actual Game Boy logo on an actual Game Boy is much smaller than that. I guess that's just so it's just more obvious to people looking at them, you know, that, oh yeah, AOL, look at this, AOL keyword NOA, back when you'd have AOL, America Online keywords. But, yeah, this is a great photo shoot right here. Dead Meat, Killer Instinct, and you have different characters from the game. But I don't know, I feel like the fan base, like the appeal of Killer Instinct, it's kind of lost on Game Boy. Enjoy it wherever you go. Killer Instinct is now on Game Boy. Play it loud. So we have a XCOM, UFO Defense, Revolution X, Final Fight 3, Mortal Kombat 3, Toy Story 3 for Genesis, Gargoyles, Virtua Cop Theme Park. Yeah, they had this was appeared when Electronic Arts had a series of games called Theme. So there was Theme Park. So it was a theme park sim where you simulated managing a yeah, instead of managing a theme park, like in Theme Park, you'd be managing a hospital. So like Theme Hospital, it's just interesting. They decided to make Theme their, I guess, brand for. Yeah, so Gex by Crystal Dynamics. I believe this game is out for Nintendo Switch. Oh, this is the. Okay, that's embarrassing. Why is the PlayStation version of Gex actually needed a password backup? And I'm seeing here. We'll zoom in a bit. And it has. Yeah, the PlayStation version of Gex has a lot of improvements over the 3DO version. Dana Gould's voiceovers are crystal clear and understandable. The cinemas are amazingly crisp compared to the original. Gamers who have not played the 3DO version will enjoy this title a lot more than the 3DO. Yeah, okay. Gex is the only 3DO game I saw. Cyberdillo. I never heard of this game before. For the 3DO. Captain Quasar, we saw an ad for that up there. Viewpoint, Scramble Cobra. Okay, Scramble Cobra, we have an ad right after the review is here. It's getting like a 5.0, a 3. The highest score it got was a 7, jeez. I'm gonna force feed these clouds a few tasty missiles. Oh, the Edge. Okay. Sure, Shockwave 2, iWar, and freaking Mario Clash. Mario Clash. Depending on what comes out with the Nintendo Switch Virtual Boy, I'll be playing that possibly later this month. Virtual Boy Mario Clash by Why is it Panasonic? That's got to be an error. Why would it be under Panasonic? Okay. Yeah, next to all these next-gen games, Mario Clash looks absolutely miserable, honestly. And it probably, from what little I played, it looked great actually looking into a system. I have not played the game since 1995, but it looks great. Think of Mario Clash as a sequel to the original Mario Brothers game. The gameplay is relatively simple and the use of 3D replaces the multiple platform levels. The two levels are more of a gimmick than anything else. The gameplay is a little too loose for my taste. I keep having Mario jump over his target instead of on it. If you want a basic platform game, Mario Clash is decent, but most players would probably become bored with it. MC is okay, but nothing really outstanding. 7. And 8. Wow. Okay, Mario Clash is a perfect example of a game that uses the potential of the Virtual Boy to a T. Not only is this game highly addictive, but the levels have a nice three-dimensional feel to them. The two reasons that will make this game a winner are the same principle as the original Mario Bros., so everyone will be familiar with the base of the game, and it's basically a fun game to play. It's a nice spin-off of the original with added twist. 6.0. This game is quite original. It's similar to the original Mario Bros., Its control is loose, and I kept finding myself getting killed because I jumped either too short or the distance over the enemy. After playing for a while, Mario Clash became quite boring, repetitive, and frustrating because of the control. Younger gamers might find this enjoyable and fun, but veterans want a game other than one to pass the time. Look elsewhere, it's just too boring. This is the type of game the Virtual Boy does best. The graphics are clear and have little trouble bringing a true 3D feel to the player. It's easy to find yourself pulling your head out of the visor as you dodge the turtle shells that Mario threw at the opponent and miss. The control is swift, giving you a usable control over your character. It has good sound, graphics, control. These are all the makings of a great game that owners of a Virtual Boy should try. Yeah, they keep saying the original Mario Brothers, but as a kid in 1995, I was not aware that there was a Mario Brothers I was not aware that Super Mario Brothers was a spin-off of Mario Brothers, an even earlier game that was basically a high score game. So I would see comments like this, like, oh, it's like the original Mario Brothers, and then when I actually got to play it at my friend's house, I was like, excuse me, what the heck is this? Why am I, okay. I'm like, why is this? This is not very impressive. Doggone. What the cheese? Okay. Stay here. Stay. Okay. Okay. Alright. Well, but look how it's amazing. This radically more visually impressive game here in the form of iWar for the Jaguar. It got worse scores than Mario Clash. And it's just, what a shame it is that Mario Clash ended up being the only Mario game, not counting Mario's Tennis, for the system. Now Sonic Labyrinth. Here's one I have some personal experience with, and maybe even a bit of a bone to pick with. But they're warm memories nonetheless. So it is 1996, summer 1996. We're going on a long interstate car trip. I'm a little kid, and my parents decided to keep me busy in the back seat by passing me they snuck a game into my my bag that had all my toys and games and books in it, and that game was Sonic Labyrinth. And I didn't enjoy it very much, but I didn't even know this game existed. Best oh my gosh. Best feature, Sonic's on the box. Worst feature, Sonic's on the game. Yeah, Sonic Spinball is definitely superior. I wish my parents had found Sonic Spinball on the shelf. Heck, I probably would have actually enjoyed Sonic Blast for Game Gear more so than. But they got me a game I didn't even ask for, and I was happy. And like, even not enjoying the game, there wasn't this harsh sense of negativity to playing a bad game for me as a kid. I'd be like, oh, I'll pop it in every once in a while and, you know, not play it for very long, but it's a game and it's fun. It's not offending me, it's not hurting me, it's just a fun digital toy. But, okay, we've seen Sonic in everything from racing to pinball, and this latest incarnation of Sega's Prize Hedgehog is way out there. The graphics are pretty good, but the game just doesn't work right. Perspective is confusing, especially when you try to use Sonic's ball. Sonic Labyrinth is really boring, with not many things to keep you interested. If you're a die-hard Hedgehog fan, you may want to pick it up, but I just couldn't get into this game. It's too strange. With a 6.0, 4.0, much harsher review. Sonic Labyrinth boasts some really nice graphics for the Game Gear, and I was having a good time with it, but after a few levels, the game became very repetitious. They probably mean repetitive, but whatever. One of the major downfalls of the game is the 3D perspective. I found myself knowing exactly where I wanted to go, but having problems getting there. The younger players may enjoy this title. I was not me. I could say from experience at the time, not me. But the experienced Sonic player, this could be a little too simple. Sonic Labyrinth could have been a little more exciting. 4.5, a little better. Sega's Blue Ronin is at it again with another somewhat fast-paced Game Gear game. The perspective and control of this game is a little awkward and tough to get used to. When you do get used to it, you'll find that it's not much to this game. After a few levels of aimless bouncing off bumpers, you'll become utterly annoyed. Yeah, that sounds about right. Now, Tales Adventure. This is a game I did not find out too long after the fact of this game having existed. I probably would have liked this game more than Sonic Labyrinth, but I probably wouldn't have gotten very far. But it does have a password backup, which very few games in my experience in the 90s when I'm playing Game Boy and Game Gear, very few of my games use passwords. They either had a battery save file or no save or continue function at all. But it's about time we saw Tails in his own game. Tails makes good use of the GG hardware with colorful graphics. The screen blurs out when the screen moves too quickly, but overall it's not too bad. The gameplay is similar to the Mario games, plus Tails has some limited flight too. This card is big and full of secrets. You get your money's worth with this one. This genre may be overdone, but Tails Adventure is just a lot of fun to play. I wish it was on another system though. Tails debuts on Game Gear. I was very impressed with this right from the beginning. Crisp graphics, good controls, secret areas. It looks like more of an exploration side of things. One of the best Game Gear titles I've played in a while. Somewhat similar to Super Mario Brothers. I played about maybe 5 to 10 minutes of this game on the 3DS Virtual Console, and I feel like this is nothing like Super Mario Brothers. It's a much slower paced game, much more exploratory. There's a bit of an emphasis on Tails' gadgetry and technology, which is as it should be with a Tails game, I'd say. Alright. So, Wipeout, a dangerous game. This doesn't show anything about what this game actually is. It just shows bleeding, dirty people. Wipeout, a dangerous game. The single best racing game I've ever played for PlayStation and PC. Yeah, there was a period where, like, PC CD-ROM was sort of treated as a distinct platform. You say, oh, like, you know, for PlayStation or for Saturn and PC CD-ROM. But I forgot this arcade joystick for the PlayStation ever existed. I mean, this looks like what a great looking joystick that looks just like the PlayStation console itself. So, Kingsfield. Let's see. Trick of the Month. Batman Forever for the Super NES. Got a dismembered leg being held up here. We got Cyber Sled. I believe this is a racing game for the PlayStation. Virtua Fighter for 32X. I never played any Virtua Fighter game, but I remember this being one of the more graphically impressive games for the 32X. Actually, throwing some polygons around. Yeah, so this is interesting here. We've got an ad here by Nintendo for the repair of Nintendo systems. That's such an interest. I don't remember these. It's an ad by Nintendo in a third-party gaming magazine advertising the repair of Nintendo systems. Busted system? Get back in the game immediately with Power Swap. Power Swap gives you a permanent replacement unit. Now, you'll be back in the game with no wait and little expense. 1-800-255-3700, which is still, to this day, Nintendo's consumer support number. $25 for an NES. You send in the old one, and they send you a replacement. $25 for the Game Boy. Wow. Imagine. Yeah, $35 to replace your Super NES with a permanent replacement unit. Imagine if your Nintendo, well, let's say, at this point, I guess the Nintendo Switch would be a more reasonable example. Imagine your Nintendo Switch breaks, you send it into Nintendo, they send you back a brand new replacement for $35, or probably a refurbished replacement, frankly, for $35. Though, of course, back then you didn't have a bunch of personal data and downloaded games on your system, so this is a much simpler to execute proposition. Destruction Derby. Hi, I'm not easily entertained, so this doesn't do much for me. This guy in the back looks bored. Looks doesn't. I don't know. He seems entertained. I'm glad someone's enjoying the view. Let's see. You got some. Yeah, these cutout cards you used to see all over the place to subscribe to magazines. No postage necessary. Yeah, imagine that. Okay, you would write your personal info on the back of this card and just throw it in a mailbox, and and you'd get a subscription to the magazine. Wowie wow. Yeah, EGM and EGM2, and you know, there was never a consensus on whether or not this was EGM2 or EGM squared. But eventually, the EGM2 just became renamed Expert Gamer. EGM squared, as I understand it, was pretty much just it had more of an emphasis on just gameplay, like strategy guides and tips and tricks and codes. Azras is saying they still have those in magazines. Okay, I have not purchased a magazine in a number of years, and it turns out the few magazines I have purchased were purchased for sentimental reasons rather than, like, actually me wanting to read the magazine. Yeah, thanks for cluing me in. Yeah, magazines is one of those things like linear television where it's, like, kind of obsolete to me. It's not obsolete in general, it's still a thing, but it's... So 3D Lemmings. The only Lemmings type game I ever played was a Lemmings clone for the Mega Duck that was called Ant Soldier, and they did a port of Ant Soldier to the Game Boy, which was then circulated as a ROM that was included with Game Boy emulators. So that's how I ended up playing games for a system called the Mega Duck. Alright, so here we go. Now this is going to be interesting. Last time around, we read... do I have... Let's see, do I have... You know what? I think this is going to be a good point to take another break. Yeah, we'll take a break here. I'll be back in another 5 minutes. And we'll read this interview. Nintendo's Howard Lincoln speaks out on the Ultra 64. So I'll be back. I'll run an ad. I'll fill up my water bottle, and we'll get back into the game and back into the historical magazine reading. But yeah, I'll give myself a bonus minute. Excuse me. But I'll be back in a few minutes, and we'll continue on the stream. Alright, I'm back and ready to continue reading. Hi everybody. Yeah, we're gonna keep reading Electronic Gaming Monthly, January 1996. And here we've got Nintendo's Lincoln Speaks Out on the Ultra 64. And this is not about a talking Lincoln Continental owned by Nintendo that will talk about N64. That would be very interesting, but it's about Howard Lincoln. So, the N64 is unveiled. More questions are raised than answers. The EGM editors caught up with Howard Lincoln, the chairman of Nintendo of America, at the recent Shoshinkai trade show and got the latest information on their new Ultra 64 game system, which is scheduled to be launched in America in late 1996. Nintendo is waiting till April 21st to bring out the system in Japan to allow for more time to finish launch games. Now, the interview starts. EGM, one of the main problems we've been hearing is the lack of games that they are working on. You will see more information in the future. Oh, wait. Okay. No. Okay. The formatting. I'm zoomed in a bit. Okay. We'll zoom out a bit for this. One of the main problems we've been hearing about is to do with lack of information being released about the Ultra 64, its games, and the games of the Dream Team. Yeah, when you hear about this Dream Team, I'm surprised that wasn't even something mentioned in the Nintendo of America writing and Nintendo Power. There was, like, because Nintendo was losing a lot of developers who were more interested in the capabilities and lower prices for buying, for publishing games on PlayStation, the Nintendo assembled what they were calling a Dream Team, a select handful of the best developers in the industry. Hey there, Wordercat, how you doing? Hey, yeah, we are reading a magazine, an EGM from January 1996 with the reveal of N64. We were playing Pokemon Pinball earlier, as well as Pokemon Puzzle League, Pokemon Puzzle Challenge, rather. However, when in playing those games, it's kind of funny to think. Oh yeah, we're also playing Pokemon Red earlier, and it's funny to think. You know what? This magazine is dated within a month of Pokemon coming out in Japan. We've already been reading this for over an hour. And in fact, in my last week's stream, we read that Nintendo Power from 1996 for over 2 hours, I believe. And I learned a lot. I was surprised by how much I learned in reading that magazine. And, I mean, I was a kid, like, passively aware of these new systems. Like, when I first saw N64, my honest first thought was like, oh yeah, figures Nintendo would try to copy Sega by having a black system with a curved design to be more like Genesis, because, the Super NES was a white console that had more corners, more edges on its design. Oh, you know what? If you want my VODs, there you go. Yep, they're all up on my YouTube. The newest, I've been streaming since 2020. And I'm proud to announce that I've got a near, I think a 85 to 90% preservation rate on my streams, which have been nearly weekly since 2020. There have been periods where I had to step away for, for a month or two here or there because I didn't have a computer, or for, to take care of other projects I was working on or other responsibilities. But we've got a lot of... This is a very interesting moment in gaming history right here, reading through this magazine, because PlayStation's already on the market, Saturn is out, N64 is on the horizon, but we're still getting major releases for the Genesis and the Super Nintendo. The Atari Jaguar and 3DO are on the market, and it's unsure whether or not they will be around for a long time. For all we knew, the 3DO could have been the hot new future of gaming. Yeah, word of God, but the thing is, the nice thing about not preserving some of your earlier stuff is that those growing pains, those earlier streams, can be swept under the rug a little easier. For me, I wanted to specifically document my streaming journey, because I started back in 2020 as a way to pass time during the lockdowns and shutdowns. But yeah, I find it interesting that they're major professional streamers who like hundreds of people like hundreds or even up to 1,000 people watch, and they have virtually non-existent preservation of their VODs. And I find that very interesting. Like, there are some streamers where I preserve some of their stuff and I don't repost it. I just keep it for my own nostalgia someday. But yeah, and it's one thing I learned. Have you heard about Shoshinkai, Wordercat? And by the way, I never for you to play. For those not familiar, I haven't had interactions with Wordercat in the past, and they have been playing Paper Mario Master Quest, I think they called it, this modified version, a more difficult version, and it's for the first time playing that game to be a more difficult version. It's interesting. When I played Paper Mario on stream, it was the first time I played through it from beginning to end in my life, because my problem was I'd rent that game back in like 2001, and I'd get up to Tubba Blubba's castle at the furthest, and I'd have to return the game. Yeah, I'd get about maybe a third through the game, and then have to return it, and then the next time I got it, I'd have to start over because they want to play on whatever file was on there. So playing it on the the Wii U Virtual Console in 2021 was the first. It was spring 2021 I was playing that. It was the first time I actually played through Paper Mario from beginning to end and beat it. And every time I leveled up, I spun a wheel of fate. And no, it's funny. I called it the Wheel of Fate, but was that already an established meme on Twitch? You know, among streamers to spin a wheel to determine some outcome or stream activity. Because I believe I came up with that on my own. I know the idea of Wheel of Fate or Wheel of Fortune is already kind of an established a meme, as it would be called. Not in the web sense, but just in the sense of this cultural element that sort of just gets passed down and replicated. But in this interview here, you've got EGM editors were among the first to try out the new system. That's the good news. The bad news is that the system was locked up in plastic and could only be looked at. In addition, while appearing ready for production upon closer inspection, we discovered that there is a suspiciously bumped out section of plastic of a different color that contained the power supply. See photo. Oh, what? Okay, if this is what I think it is, okay. There was a suspiciously bumped out section of plastic that of a different color that contained the power supply. See photo. Look at that. That's just how the power supply on the N64 worked, and they're using this to imply that perhaps the system isn't ready for production. Actually, no. I forgot to read the interview. I forgot to read the interview with Howard Lincoln. You have very strong. It's games, and will that be changing? Now, Lincoln is saying we have very strong confidentiality agreements with the Dream Team members. That has to do principally with the specification of the technology. In the terms of the type of games they are working on, you'll see more information in the near future. And Azrest in chat is saying Paper Mario was a big deal back in the day. So, Wordercat, I don't know if you're aware of this, but I was reading some earlier Nintendo powers from around like 98, 99-ish. And when the first screenshots of Super Mario RPG 2 came out looking in that what became known as the Paper Mario art style, there was actually a lot of blowback. It was probably the most controversial Nintendo thing up until Wind Waker. Well, people were like, oh, I got a Nintendo 64 to have amazing 3D games. They're releasing this lame 2D game for it, and they could make this epic RPG, and instead they're making this. So, I mean, this was in an age when the idea that they would... I remember thinking... they would never make it. I remember thinking at one point that they would never make another 2D Mario game again for a home console. I really thought that at one point. It really seemed like 2D gaming was pretty much dead. The 2D gaming seemed to be, I did play Mischief Makers back in the day. I loved it. It was a 2D platformer on Nintendo 64, but it really seemed like 2D games in general were going to be like black and white movies or silent movies, where it was just an inherently obsolete thing that once the technology allowed through 3D, there was no reason to go back and do 2D game design anymore. And Wardercat is pointing out that now everyone says Paper Mario the Thousand Year Door is one of the best. Is the best, actually. Yeah. But EGM was saying, but there was an embargo on information until the Shoshinkai show. And Lincoln is saying, we didn't want them to get ahead of us prior to the show, but hereafter, if you want to show something, that's fine. EGM is saying, why wasn't the Ultra name used in Japan for Ultra 64? And Lincoln is saying, I think there were some trademark issues. And other sources within Nintendo have said that there were no trademark issues, and the trademark issues would have been with Konami over their Ultra Games label that they used sort of as a shell company to get around the strict limits on how many releases individual companies could have on the original NES. Now, EGM is saying there have been rumors. Hold on, let me get a bowl of water. Take a sip from my invisible water bottle. EGM is saying there have been rumors that the Nintendo 64 wasn't launched in Japan this month because of the release of Dragon Quest VI, which would have been for Nintendo Super Famicom. And Lincoln's saying, I don't think that had a direct relationship, but it's a very strong title for the Japanese market. Mr. Yamauchi. Yeah, they spell Yamauchi's, they spell it, sometimes I hear it said Yamauchi, sometimes I hear it said Yamauchi, and here I never saw it actually spelled out as Yamauchi. Yesterday, Yamauchi was being very candid when he said he was waiting until April 21st because his people need more time to finish the launch games at a level they're satisfied with, Mr. Miyamoto. This also had a huge influence on the launch dates in the sense that he wants to put more into Mario 64. You don't want to rush introductions because the retailers, media, or financial analysts say we should. Yamauchi's answer is that we don't have to do anything other than protect our shareholders. Now, what is it like to go on assignment in foreign soil? We followed Ed in Japan to find out. After a long flight and struggling through customs, it's time to get some Japanese money. That's definitely Howard Lincoln in the middle. And EGM is asking, are you still on track with a $250 launch price? The hardware is going to be under $250 in the US. I don't know whether or not we will pack in software. There are no plans to launch at $199. We will not sell the hardware at less than cost. Yeah, Nintendo actually did end up launching at $199 in the end, which is interesting because Nintendo basically has launched the Super NES, N64, and GameCube at $200 unadjusted for inflation. And EGM is saying, will there be a lockout chip? And Lincoln is saying, we're shooting for a hardware system that is essentially the same worldwide in terms of compatibility. We have not made a final decision, but if the past is a guide, we've been very... Okay. We have been very proactive against counterfeiters. Okay, they're asking, like, hey, will it be able to play games from different regions? And his immediate knee-jerk reaction is to comment about counterfeiting of games. All the hype was that there would be 100 systems and 10 games here on the show. What happened? The games that we have in the queue are in various stages of development. Mario was the furthest along the development and easier for people to see how Mario operates in real-time 3D. And oh yeah, and I missed you in chat. Azure saying that's a very cutthroat statement about protecting shareholders. Yeah, that's an incredibly I mean, as secretive as Nintendo is, at this point they're being very explicit with the public in terms of like, hey, we're not going to change our strategy based on pressure from analysts. We're going to protect our shareholders by sticking to their strategy, which they think is going to be a winning strategy. Because I think that's a provocative statement, especially since Nintendo... I mean, if you're a shareholder and you have stake in Nintendo's dealings, and you're reading things from analysts saying, like, oh, are they going to be able to come to market on time and at the price they're promising, with enough games to compete against these very robust competition from Sony and PlayStation, I would probably be wondering, like, hey, is it time to sell? Like, what do I do? But Nintendo's saying, like, no, we're going to protect our shareholders. We're going to stay the course and stick to our plans and release our product, which will be the basis for our business for the next 5 years, when it's ready and not a day sooner. Now, yeah, Mr. Yamauchi did not want the press and game players to play 5 to 10 minutes in various stages of development and leave the Mario game fully unexploited. Yamauchi made the final decision. EGM is saying some games were notably absent, like Cruisin' USA. Why? Mario Kart was further along in development, so we showed that. Cruisin' will be available at launch, along with 2 more games. Yeah, that didn't happen. Yeah, the launch games ended up being Pilot Wings and... Yeah, Pilot Wings and Mario 64. Cruisin' came along a little later, I think before the end of the year. Along with... So, EGM saying the games will cost about $100 in Japan. How much in the US? Lincoln is saying in the US the price will be in the $60 to $70 range, or similar to what the 16-bit games are now. EGM asks, is some of the difference due to the new low price on the 64 meg chip? Lincoln is saying, I can't go into the technological reasons as to why our 64 meg chip will be cheaper than our present 32 meg games, but it will. Will all games be 64 megs? Lincoln is saying, as a starting point, they can go as high as 256 megs. EGM is saying, when will the magnetic optical drive come out? Lincoln is saying, before the end of 1996, you'll see the product before the next Shoshinkai show. Yeah, before the end of 1996. No. It came out in like 2000, or it came out in late 2000 or early 2001 at like at the 11th hour of the Nintendo 64's lifespan as a Japan exclusive. And you could hardly say that it flopped in Japan because it barely even came out in Japan as far as I'm concerned. Now, EGM saying, where would it connect to Ultra? There is no expansion port and we can't see it at the bottom of the system. Lincoln, as you say, you can't see under it. As you say, and we can't see the bottom of the system. Yeah, so is Connect said underneath it. EGM saying, what is the purpose of the cartridge port on the controller? And Lincoln is saying, the idea is that you can customize some of your games. You can store the way you set up your baseball team and take the controller to somebody else's house and play your game your way. Ken Griffey Baseball is now being developed, and it will take advantage of that feature. EGM, what do you consider to be your competitor? Lincoln, one of the things we're not going to do is trash our competitors. Do we have more concern over one than another? No, not really. You tend to see the business that competitors go up and down. It has more to do with the quality of games than anything else. EGM saying, now that you've given us this information, will Nintendo go back into seclusion for the next few months? Lincoln, we have a tendency to do that. Is this the way we've done business in the past? These kinds of things are more to do with our capacity to get information out. You're dealing with the parent company, you're dealing with Japan, the US, the third-party developers, and all that. Quite frankly, sometimes it's a lot easier to just wait and give everything out at one time. So, yes, we got the power supply. We commented on, their comments about that. And so here we're actually seeing the Nintendo 64 branding on the system, whereas when we looked at Nintendo Power from January 96, what we saw instead was them using the Ultra 64 emblems on the system. So we've got the AV port. Okay. Yeah, the specs. So N64's controller. Nintendo. Okay, this is important to me. There's so much like there's a lot of backlash to the N64 controller nowadays. People did think it was odd back then, but the idea that like, oh, it's obviously the worst controller ever. It's like, no, that's like clearly not the case. Like, and oh, what was Nintendo thinking? No, that's not how things were at that time. It's a little more complicated than that. So, yeah, we already read an in-depth breakdown of the controller and the Nintendo Power issue. But Mario 64, breaking away from the usual 2D boundaries that plagued the series. I mean, people weren't playing Super Mario World thinking, oh, this game is 2D, if only it were 3D. They make it sound like that anyway. Mario fans can finally rejoice because Super Mario 64 is seeing the light of day on Nintendo's Super System. Breaking away from the usual 2D boundaries that plague the series, this new game offers more techniques as well as a unique perspective. Super Mario 64 was one of 2 actually playable titles to appear at Shoshinkai. Mario could use his usual complement of moves, running and jumping. He now could couple them with climbing and grabbing onto enemies. If you get shot out of a cannon, you could even fly. It's also possible to look up and down. You could use this trick to see what the underside of a thwomp block looks like. This game also gives our favorite plumber new animations which result in more comical reactions. There's one humorous action where Mario burns his rump by some fireballs. Mario then grabs his butt and flies upward in agony, while at the same time crossing the chasm. Like the previous Mario adventures, there are many themed zones ranging from the Rocky Mountains to Ice World. Yeah, the Rocky Mountains are, and Ice World. Like, they're just making up names. These are not the names they would have used, but, there's even a bonus level where Mario has to go down a slide collecting coins. You can use the 3D stick to accelerate, slow down, not to mention turn. What would a Mario game be without a water level? Well, this 64-bit Mario has a new twist on the classic water theme. In this world, deep water. You know what? Maybe these are preliminary map names that they actually supplied to them. Yep, he no longer has a limited supply of air. You have to surface, all while dodging sharks. Taking a look at the pictures on this page, you can easily tell this is an adventure like none other. The new gameplay perspective, coupled with all new play elements, has instantly made the ultimate Mario adventure. The visuals are top-notch. Had to scratch a chin itch there, excuse me. The graphics comprised of texture map polygons make full use of the 3D controller for all the tricks and strategies. I don't think there's any Nintendo games in here. Yeah, I don't think there are many Nintendo games in here. Yeah, I'd probably get bored in there. I wouldn't have any need to visit that place, but at least be sure to check future issues when we blow out this game to its fullest. Super Mario 64 is a huge title with many elements never before seen in a Mario game. With effects and pyrotechnics, we're pretty sure you're going to want to play this one till you drop. Yeah, we've got some Beta Womp's Fortress here. And here, this level right here, this is one of the levels that was not ever seen again until the Giga Leak in 2020, actually. We've got, okay, early Cool Mountain. You've got a Kirby Ball 64. Kirby Ball 64, also known as Kirby Bowl 64. And, yeah, this game ended up becoming Kirby's Air Ride for N64, which then ended up getting canceled. So Pilot Wing 64. This is the first game that I rented for Nintendo 64. The first game I rented whatsoever. It's on the Nintendo Switch Online. I'll play it eventually. I will play it. someday. GoldenEye 007. This ended up being a very important game for Nintendo 64. Star Fox 64 was also a big deal. Yeah, so Nintendo's spectacular FX chip game that wowed players in the Super NES has a sequel. There was a 16-bit sequel, but it got scrapped in favor of this one. Yeah, they eventually did release the canceled Star Fox 2 on Super NES, and they released it on the Super NES Classic on Nintendo. That Nintendo put out. So Zelda 64 ran out of cash on day 3. Blastozer, yeah, ended up getting released as Blast Core. Star Wars Shadows of the Empire I did play. Alright, so Body Harvest, Wave Race 64. That's a game I rented a couple of times. Yeah, Wave Race 64. It's a sequel to a Game Boy exclusive jet ski racing game. Creator, I believe this game ended up getting moved to 64DD and then getting canceled. Super Mario Kart R, that ended up being Mario Kart 64. Daytel and Interact team up to bring out new code-defining peripherals. Yeah, the Game Shark video game enhancer, the first version of the Game Shark. Alright, that's what the interface looked like. But all the N64 stuff. Now look at this game here. Cutthroat Island, Super NES, Genesis, Game Gear, and Game Boy on every, I guess all 4 of the biggest systems at that time. Primal Rage. Save, what is this, a Six Flags coupon? Save $4 at Six Flags theme parks. Yeah, Time Warner Interactive. Yeah, okay, it makes sense. Yeah, of course, a Time Warner Interactive game would have a tie-in with Six Flags theme parks. Now, I'm interested. Time Warner Interactive's Virtua Racing. I'm very interested in... Did Time Warner have anything to do with the development of Virtua Racing on the Genesis? Because Virtua Racing on Genesis, the reason that was a big deal was because essentially Virtua Racing on Genesis used the Sega Genesis counterpart to Nintendo's Super FX chip they used in Star Fox, Stunt Race FX, and a few other games. Genesis, Revolution X, heard the game was stinky. Never played it myself. 32X, Spider-Man, The Web of Fire. Laser web appears above Manhattan. Evacuation ordered, city in chaos. Yeah, so, Spider-Man, The Web of Fire. That's a game that Pete Dorr actually played at GDQ. He brought his 32X and his Genesis to Games Done Quick a few years ago, and he played this game. He sped run the game there, and he did actually end up getting a world record, which was pretty cool. The clarity of the visuals in Spider-Man Web of Fire properly uses the added muscle of the 32X. Now, because here's the thing from my perspective. Looking at these screenshots, and mind you, imagine I'm a kid in like the 94, 95 when they're planning this 32X thing. I'm seeing these screenshots, and it just looks like another 2D action game to me. And I'm a Team Sega kid, especially pre-95. I didn't get my Game Boy till 95, so I was a Sega-only kid up until 95. To me, I'm looking at these screenshots, and I'm thinking, you know what? this doesn't look that much better than Genesis. I don't see the benefits of it. And then they said that before they said that CDs on Sega CD were going to be the hot future of gaming. And now they want me to buy 32X. I didn't have a Genesis, I had Game Gear. Meanwhile, Nintendo has Donkey Kong Country, and it doesn't even use the chip that Star Fox used. So, but when actually seeing, I watched Pete practicing on stream for the Games Done Quick appearance, and basically actually seeing it in action, you could see the benefits of the added hardware of the 32X that added to the Genesis, but looking at screenshots, it really doesn't show the advantages it provides. Virtua Cop. I played some kind of Sega target shooting arcade cabinet game, and at Sega GameWorks, the one time I ever went to one of those, and there were like real life targets, including like actual like mugs that would like shatter when you shot them, and I'm guessing they were either like breakaway mugs that were, I guess, had magnetic pieces and they'd put them back together, or they were like, I guess they just have a supply of fake like breakaway coffee mugs to. Alright, so we've got Solar Eclipse for Sega Saturn. Lots of coverage of, but you have XCOM, UFO Defense. It's a, a strategy game where there's like, you duck for cover behind things. DEFCON 5, get off while you still can. Thunderstrike. Yeah, is this part of the Strike series that had, because that Thunderstrike, because there was a series of Strike. There was like Desert Strike, then there was like Nuclear Strike. I had a poster for Nuclear Strike on my wall. I put it up there myself, and I don't know why, because I'm not a violent, I didn't play a lot of violent video games or war video games. Like I'll be honest, the game I spent the most time on, based on anything connected to real life human conflict, was Sandstorm, which was a DOS PC game, which was basically like Missile Command, but it was themed around the US Gulf War. It's a very jingoistic sort of title. Hey, it's Rayman. Yeah, hi Rayman. I will be playing Rayman 2 by the spring. I will say that. Shockwave 2. 2 more craft. You got Bust-A-Move for 3DO. Okay, we got some Jaguar. A penguin is a terrible thing to raise. Like, this is one of those Jaguar games that just flat out does not. This does not look like a 64-bit game. This looks like a Game Boy Advance-esque, like, range 32-bit game at best. Attack of the Mutant Penguins. Missile Command 3D. Hey, I was just talking about Missile Command. Yeah, I forgot there was a sequel to Missile Command on the Jaguar. Oh yeah, this is one of those CD clubs. BMG Music Service. Yeah, this is yeah, BMG Music Service. This is basically 1996 Spotify right here. You get this thing where they'd send you CDs and tapes, and then you'd send them back when you're done, I think. Okay, let's read into this. Here's how your club works. Start with our 731 format to introduce you to the club and to your savings. Choose the music you love. Pick 7 free CDs right now from any gate choices. Buy 1 selection at the regular club price within a year, then choose 3 more. That's 11 for the price of 1 plus shipping. Listen with no risk. Shop from the comfort of home. And yeah, it was a very different age of how music was distributed. What is this? Mutant Chronicles Doom Troopers. This looks like a trading card game, like a role-playing card game kind of thing. I mean, this is during like the early days of like Magic the Gathering. Yeah, this is early days of Magic the Gathering, sort of meteoric rise that is still around to this day. A Babylon 5 official collector's magazine. Killer Instinct for Game Boy. Tails Adventure. Wow, they got a more detailed. Tails Adventure requires more thought and planning than fast-paced, fast-action movement. That's what I was saying with my mere 5 minutes I spent over 10 years ago playing the game on 3DS. Geom Cube. This basically just looks like 3D Tetris for Virtual Boy, but without the official branding. Yeah, dropping 4-piece like puzzle blocks into a well. Yeah, okay. Yeah, what is this? What game is this? Oh, Lemmings. Okay. Alright, I get it. Lemmings, 3D Lemmings. Or Lemmings 3D, I'm not sure how it was officially styled. Wing Commander 3, featuring Mark Hamill here. I never played any of these games. Beavis and Butthead and Virtual Stupidity for the PC. Yeah, they didn't cover a whole lot of... There was a period where they didn't cover any PC gaming, and here there's this brief period where I guess they do cover some PC games. Fox Hunt, Here Come the Hounds for PC. Now, Clackaboy in chat is saying, seeing my VR model next to the magazines makes me think I'd be a perfect mascot for a gaming magazine. Ah, darn it. If only I was a few decades, 2 or 3 decades too late. No, honestly, like, I mean, like, look at this. If I had this, if I had the tech to do this, even 10 years ago, regardless of any, I would, yeah, if I had the tech to do what I'm doing now, just 10 years ago, I could have easily established myself in a place where I could have been a professional YouTuber just based on the novelty alone. Yeah, this is, there's nothing particularly unique about this now. Just, you know, what it means to me personally. But yeah, if I, if I had this tech to do this motion capture and this 3D model just 10 years ago, it would have blown people's minds. This is 2026. If I could have done this in 2016, yeah, this was very, very cutting edge. Would have been in 10 years ago. Let alone 20 years ago in 2006. Oh, forget it. I mean, in 2006, I mean, I would have probably barely been able to stream live with this. I would have had to make YouTube videos on the earliest days of YouTube. Back when YouTube was actually like ashamed of itself in every possible aspect. But Gex at Electronics Boutique, you have the PlayStation and Saturn versions of Gex. I believe there's a collection with the first 3 games that's out now for modern systems, including Switch. So you got the Horde, Galaxian 3. I don't hear much about this. And it's a shooter for PlayStation. Nintendo's hot shooter Galaxian 3 will be making an appearance on PlayStation. This game is primarily a shooter set on a rendered CG background similar to Starblade. Alright. Screw the Prime Directive. It fits on the radar, it's toast. Yeah, Total Eclipse. Being edgy there. Hermie Hopperhead. I've never heard of that game. for PlayStation. Oh, it's a Japanese release. Who knows if it even came out here? I don't think it came out here. I never heard of it. Iron Soldier 2, Carnage, Loaded. I've never heard of this game. I'm not surprised it's an Interplay release. It certainly has that Interplay edge to it. Street Fighter Alpha. That became a whole series unto itself. Defender 2000, Loaded, Alien Wars, Johnny Bazooka Tone, Zone Raiders, Earthworm Jim, for PC, getting a PC release, huh? Okay. Tempest 2000 for PC and compatibles. I never knew there was a PC version of Tempest 2000. I heard that's one of the best games on the Atari Jaguar. And that it got a sequel on the new one of all systems, of all platforms. You could argue whether or not. Yeah, Tecmo Super Bowl. Yeah, X-Band. Yeah, back when, Yeah, X-Band was actually an online gaming service for the Super NES and Genesis. Yeah, it's hard to believe such a thing could have existed, but it certainly did. You know, NFL Face-Off. We'll scroll a little more expediently through here. Oh, Velora Valley. We got some coverage of some football game. We got a lot of sports games in this section. Well, with the next generation of systems out, what will happen to the 16-bit market? Huh. Yeah, I don't feel like reading those right now, but we could revisit them at some point. Power Source expansion set. It looks like a Marvel card game. I know this is Juggernaut because of those early YouTube that meme video. Oh yeah, Psycho Letter of the Month. Yeah, this is back when they actively encouraged bizarre letters. Which probably got out of hand at some point. I may know some people who sent intentionally weird letters. Oh, and here we go. Win the ultimate gaming rig. Over $20,000 in prizes. Yeah, so this is what the ultimate gaming rig was in January 1996. You get an RCA satellite dish. You get a 3DO system, a PlayStation, a Virtual Boy, a PC with monitor and keyboard and mouse. Get an Atari Jaguar, a Sega Saturn, what would have at the time probably been described as a big screen TV, not high resolution, not high def, just big, and with this killer stereo system. And to do this, you had to solve these word puzzles, okay? And mail them in. I actually did try doing one of these once. And okay, $3. Yeah, and you'd send the money and solve this puzzle, and now I like how the so EGM Marketplace. So you have some paid ads. For the Super NES, we're using the European Super NES design and the Japanese one. You have the 3DO, the Panasonic and Gold Star models of 3DO, Virtua Boy, Virtua. Descent 2, Warcraft 2, Aliens, Quake? Quake? When did Quake... There was no version of Quake for the Virtual Boy. This is just silly. Yeah, they're just making stuff up. That's very interesting. And we have a bunch of games here to trade in. World of Games for Game Boy. Wario Land Virtual Boy, like probably the most sit down and play, the most long, like this is like I think the only long format platformer, the only non-score attack platformer for the Virtual Boy. Alright, and that does it. So, I'm gonna end soon, but we have some unfinished business to take care of. And actually, no, I'm gonna have to go on break for just a minute to... You know what? I'm actually I'm just gonna go ahead and call it. Let's see, who's around that we could raid? Because we will come back on Saturday the 14th. I think that's Valentine's Day. I don't have a Valentine, so I kind of don't care. I'm happy for whoever does. That's, yeah, not something that's, I guess, part of my universe. But I'm going to... Where's my... Okay, here we go. So let's see, who's around right now? So... Yeah, I think I'll just go ahead and call it this time without doing a raid.